Howdy, welcome to the Autistic page. In today's video, we're going to discuss how to educate your PDA, Pathological Demand Avoidance Autistic kid without even trying. It just got real.
Oh, wow.
Howdy, I'm David Page. I am a PDA autistic and ADHD. I also have two PDA children. Today I would like to discuss the three things that I have discovered, the only three things that you need to know to educate your PDA kid. Actually, to educate anyone for that matter. This method will work for anyone better than the education system can possibly give you. So let me explain the background behind this. I came up with this philosophy in my 30s when my kids were in middle school, and it came from understanding how people learn. Now, arguably, there's, I think, 4 to 7, even up to 9 different learning styles. Now, what the education system teaches in college, teaches these educators, these teachers, is to blanket the kids with all learning styles at once. So that's when you have the teacher writing on the chalkboard so that you can see it. She's telling you so you can hear it. Maybe she's having you write it down for tactile purposes and so forth. And they want to get as many sensory inputs in as possible. Now, as an autistic, that's the damn worst thing you could possibly do. Also, being an ADHD. For any child, why would you want to overstimulate them and distract them? You see, we usually learn in maybe one primary way, sometimes two different ways, such as maybe audibly, like I learn very well by reading. I also learn very well tactily. That is by touching and feeling and actually doing things. So when a teacher, say you've got a kid that is a visual learner, so she throws in these other methods that actually they don't learn at all with. In fact, it's very, very difficult to learn, say maybe hearing it for this child or writing it down. They just can't do it. So what the teacher is actually doing is distracting the child from learning by throwing in all these different stimulus, all these different learning styles at once, which is ridiculous. Now, I've tried to explain this to teachers, and basically 1 in 10 get it. I don't understand why they don't get it. I think it's maybe just a groupthink mentality, or they just have tunnel vision from what they learned in college. But they're like, oh yes, so we give all stimulus. I'm like, yes, you're actually distracting the kid from learning. Oh, and that's why we give by all different kinds of learning techniques all together. But that's why it's not working. I understand. That's why we give all the different. I swear, that's the circles that those conversations have gone in. Every once in a while, I'll find a educator that actually understands what I'm saying. So now let's get into it. What are the 3 things that you need to learn? Well, it's very, very easy. First of all, a child needs to learn to read. Then all kinds of doors open. All kinds of opportunities open up. Now we have social media. We have the internet and so forth. So kids can learn through videos and so forth. But still, the primary source of learning is reading. Secondly, this is something that educators totally fail in. And that is teaching a child to discover how they learn. So you want to help them to discover how they learn the best. What are their learning styles? Now, once they know their learning styles, they don't have to be distracted by all these other learning styles. This also means that you're not necessarily going to be in a standard educational environment, because they are going to have to be away from those distractions. And most PDA kids are actually homeschooled anyway, so parents can obviously provide this type of environment that the child thrives the most in. So once a child has learned to read and they know how they learn, they can teach themselves. We don't have to do anything. When we think of a teacher, that is an actual demand. I am making you learn this. We all know how well that works with PDAers. It just doesn't seem to do the trick, you know? Um, but let me give an example of what happened with me. I was in special ed classes as a kid. They never did diagnose me with anything, except for the fact that once I did get into the special ed classes, they had pretty much teachers' aides or teaching students or whatever, kind of running those classes. The teacher would give the syllabus, that is all of the things that needed to be learned, to the teacher's aide. Well, they would in turn just give that to me. It basically let me know everything I needed to learn for that quarter. So in about 2 weeks, maybe 3, I would finish everything for that entire period. So they made that a confirmation that I just was not applying myself, that I just didn't give a crap. And so they put me back in regular classes, and of course I'd fail, and it would just go back and forth. It was kind of ridiculous. So why did it work? Well, it worked because they gave me all the work that I needed to learn. And I was able to dive into that at my own pace. And these teachers' aides, because they didn't have this teacher mentality yet, they actually were exactly what they needed to be, teaching aides. They aided me, they helped me to learn myself. Completely different concept as to trying to force learning on someone. So when I did have a question, I'd ask them, and they'd help me to understand that I'm autistic. I get confused on certain things. Once I understood that concept, I was off again. I was done. I didn't need them. I didn't want them around. And I educated myself very quickly and very thoroughly that way. So that's number 2. Teach a kid how to teach themselves. I will be providing a link in the description to a website that gives a 20-question questionnaire on learning styles. Now, I don't know how accurate that's going to be. I don't know how easily it's going to be to apply to a kid. When I was young, I made up little games. Let's see how many words you can learn to memorize using flashcards. Let's see how many words you can learn to memorize how to spell them by writing it down. Let's see how many words you can remember to spell by me spelling them to you, and so forth. We made it into a game. There was no demand, and we discovered how they learn best. Number 3, teach a child how to research for themselves. Give them the tools. Explain to them the different tools, the opportunities they have online from libraries, from all kinds of different sources for getting the truth, and teach them how to get to the bottom of the truth. That is not the memes on Facebook or TikTok, but rather the actual sources of these information. Where are the scientific papers found? How do you find them? How do you research in history? How do you find factual information? And so forth. Now, once you have empowered these kids with these 3 things, that is learning to read, learning how to teach themselves how they learn, so that they know how they learn and they're not wasting their time trying to learn in ways that they don't learn well, and finally, how to research. What else do you got to do? Give a kid a syllabus and, I don't know, go have a beer, right? Right? And that's what works for me, and that's why I am self-educated to this day, because I knew and I learned how to educate myself. Remember, these 3 things apply to everyone. The education system just is trying to educate backwards. The education system needs to learn from autistic people, from PDAers, on how to teach. In fact, I don't even like to say how to teach, how to assist children in teaching themselves. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this. Has these techniques worked for you? This is David Page. Screw them. Parter.